Hello YouTube, it's Carlos the Rook, and I'm bringing you round 2 from the Wolf Chess Championship that I played in. And in this round, I'm white, rated 1775 against David Ellington, who is 1522. And I start off with e4, he responds c5, another Sicilian, knight f3, knight c6. So I go d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight to f6, knight to c3. So here he plays e5. I go knight on d to b5, and he responds with d6, stopping the knight from coming into the d6 square, checking, and then he will have to get rid of his dark square bishop. So the move here is bishop g5, pinning the knight. He goes a6, hitting my knight on b5. I retreated to a3. Now he goes b5 with a threat to fork the two knights. So the knight comes to d5, where this knight is pinned. And he goes bishop to e7 to protect that knight. So I trade off the bishop. He takes back. This is all standard theory. And here, the move I play is c3. And the idea is to reroute the knight to c2 and then potential a4 thrust to break up the a pawns. So you go bishop g5, moving the bishop out of the line of fire. Now I've never seen this move before. Normally everybody castles here, and then after knight c2 they go bishop g5, then it's a4, where a captures, b captures a, rook captures a. That's what I normally see. So I played knight c2 anyway, but what I should have done is maybe h4, hitting the bishop and sending the bishop back to h6. But I go knight c2 because this is the move I had prepped. He responds knight e7. Now his idea is he's going to trade off my good knight, because the knight right here is really good and he wants to trade it off. So once again, the engine is recommending either h4 or a4, making a pawn break on either side. But here I play this knight on c to e3, because my idea was if you take that knight, I take back with my knight, and my knight still has that dominant position. So he goes bishop to b7. Now his idea is to take the knight. No, his idea is to take this knight, and if I take back with my knight or with the pawn, then the e4 pawn drops. So I thought I had to play queen to d3 in order to protect that. But the engine is still recommending a4 is the best move here. But I play queen d3, so I protect that whichever knight he takes. And he takes with this knight. I take back with the knight. And now you see the pawn is protected by the queen. And here he breaks with d5, the Sicilian break. Now I thought here for a while, I felt like I had to take it. There's no way if I let him take, then it's a doubled up pawn, but it's protected. And then it's going to be a queen trade. So I took, he takes back with the knight. Now here, I was wondering, should I take or should I cross castle? So if I take, he takes back with the queen, more than likely I cross castle, then this pawn falls. So I felt like I had to cross castle here. And if he takes the knight, I take back with the queen, hitting his queen. Now his queen has to move to a better square. He moved to e7, trying to protect that pawn. And here, Stockfish 17.1 has it equal. It is recommending bishop to d3, which I wanted to do. Bishop to d3 is the move I wanted to do, and play bishop c2 and have my bishop on that line. But I thought if I do that, he can go rook to d8. And once I go bishop c2, then a pair of rooks come off the board, and then that really makes the position drawish. Now I didn't want to trade rooks just yet. I felt like I traded too many pieces and against a lower rated opponent, and I didn't want to do a whole bunch of more trades. I wanted to try and do a kingside pawn storm and see if I could break open the position. So I didn't play the best move because I wanted to try and do some, keep pieces from falling off, more pieces from falling off the board. So I go bishop e2. He castles. And now the idea I had, if he hadn't castled, is if he captures on g2, I slide the rook over, bishop has to get out of the way, and then I capture on g7, and then he never castles. So he didn't fall for that. So he castles. Now I put the rook on g1 with the idea of g4, but he stops it with f5. So now I go bishop to d3, realizing I made a mistake, and my bishop needs to be here. So he go queen c7. And I dropped the bishop to c2, where I wanted the front to be at to begin with. So I wasted a lot of tempo. Now king h8. And here, the engine wants rook d2. But I thought king b1 was better. Because I was thinking he's probably going to try and go for b4. And after c captures b4, then I'm open on the c file. So I wanted to step over one. He goes g6. And my coach said g6 was completely unnecessary. So, because they're actually giving me some counterplay. So I respond with h4. And he goes f4. Here I play queen h3. And the idea is to keep pushing the h-pawn. He goes bishop c8. Logical. And here I made an error. I should have went back queen f3, but then after bishop b7, I felt like we were repeating moves. But my coach said the response should have been bishop e4 to bishop b7. Then if the bishops come off, the queen comes to e4, and then I could bring a rook behind the queen, and that e-pawn is really, really vulnerable. And that will be what I'm capitalizing on. But in the game, I played queen c2. So bishop f5, and that was a really great move by him, by David, bringing the bishops off. Now I play rook to d5, and this puts me at a disadvantage. The engine wants rook on g to e1 instead of bringing the rook up, but my idea was to double rooks on his d file, and he immediately brings a rook over to the file to stop me. So we trade off a pair of rooks. Exactly what I didn't want. And now his queen becomes extremely active. He's threatening queen f1. So I drop the rook down with a check. He moves the king up. And now I move the queen to g1 to protect the f pawn. He goes queen e4 checking. And the engine said he should have went e4 here. e4 with the idea rook d7, rook f7. The rooks come off and we go into a queen pawn endgame. And black has a slight advantage. But he went to check. I stepped over. He goes f3. And here I thought for a while. I wasn't sure if I go g3 or g4. And with g4, I'll chase the rook away, but the rook can just drop to f4, and then I'm going to lose a pawn. So if g4, rook f4, what do I do after that? Maybe h5? No, then rook captures, and then I'm just out of there. The queen is hitting the queen, and the queen has to move. So I rejected g4 and went with g3 correctly. So he goes queen c4, going after the pawn again. I go king b1, and now he goes queen e2. So here the engine is saying king c1 is the move, the best move to hold a position. And I felt like king c1, he'd go back queen e4, and then we're just going to start repeating. So what I wanted to do was trade queens. So I went rook d1 with the idea of queen e1, trading queens. He goes e4. Now he's threatening to trade off e4, e3. He trade off, and then the f pawn comes pushing in. So I went queen e1, which is a losing move. Losing. I didn't see that this was losing. I thought I just trade queens. But the reason this is losing is rook d5. That's the winning move here that we both missed. Rook d5. And with rook d5, I can't take the rook because then my queen falls. And if I take the queen, he takes my rook with check. So I'll show you. If I take the rook, I lose the queen. With check at that. And if I take the queen, he takes the queen back. My rook is still hanging. If I take the rook, he just queens. And if I try and slide over to take the pawn, he drops here. Check. And I have to take, and it's mate. So that was the move he missed. Rook d5. Move we both missed. And then you're saying instead of queen e1, the best move was rook e1. Then queen goes to c4, rook e3, setting up a blockade on the pawn, and now the queen can come to e1. So that's how I should have played it. Instead of queen with e1, rook e1, queen c4, rook e3, blockading the pawns. Now he can never get e3 in. And the position holds. So after queen e1, he plays e3, which is the second best move in the position. And here he's still winning. The engine has him at 5.49, so he's completely winning. And I play f captures e3. And my idea is if he takes my queen, I take back with the rook, and his pawn cannot get in because I'll blockade with my rook, and then my king has time to move over. So here, once again, he's supposed to play rook d5 with the idea that I can't take the queen or the rook or I'm losing. But he plays king f6, which gives away some of the advantage, but not all of the advantage. So I go king c1, start moving my king over since he's moving his king over. Queen captures e1, rook captures e1. And he's still winning at this point. All he needs to do is king e5 and king e4 is the winning idea. However, he incorrectly plays f2. Now, my rook can slide over. His king come to e5. My king go to d2, hoping for king to e2. He go king e4, and I go king e2. Now he goes rook f3. So his idea is rook captures. So let's say I go rook captures f2. Rook captures f3, check. King goes to f1. And then rook captures g3. So that's his idea. So the engine's saying I should go rook d1 here. And if he take, I take. But I thought g4 was better to get the pawn out of the line of fire after the exchanges. The engine disagrees. Here is dead drawn, but after g4, I'm losing. And the reason I'm losing is he has rook captures e3 check, king captures f2, rook to f3 check, king to g2 to keep, because if it's king to e2, he goes rook g3. So it's king g2, rook captures f1 check, king captures f1, and here the winning move is king d3. and he go get these pawns, and I don't have time. I can't get over there to protect the pawns. And here he just, by the time I get over here, all these pawns will be gone, and he's marching 2 past pawns. So David incorrectly went King F4 the other way. So I go G5, and my idea is here is I got 3-on-2 on the queen side, so that's why I'm gonna get my counterplay. And he's gonna have to come all the way over to H file, which will put him out of the line of the square on the pawn that I promote. So you go King G4, and here I go A4. And my idea is if he captures on A4, my C pawn marches. The engine is saying the best move. It still has black as winning. And it's saying the best move is H5? Hold on. G5, King G4. B4. No, A4. It's saying A4 is best. And here he incorrectly captures. So if he captures B captures A4, then he can come back and stop me. However, he incorrectly captures on H4. Now I'm winning. And here I thought for a while. The first idea I thought was A5, King captures G5, B4, then it's maybe H4, C4, B captures C4, B5, A captures B5, then it's A6, and I'm 2 squares from queening, and he's only, his pawn would be on H5, so that pawn is 4 squares from queening. The C pawn would be 3 squares from queening, but my king is in the line in the square. So I'll queen first and I'll win. So that was the first line I thought. And I'll just show it to you. A4, king captures, B4, H4. Here, he has to capture, I'm running in. If you don't capture, I capture. So he has to capture here, here, here. And his king is too far away. That's mating 23. 20, mating 20, mating 19 according to the engine. Stockfish is saying mate 19 here for white. So that's the first line I thought. And the second line I considered was B captures A4, B captures A4, B4, king captures G5, C4, B captures C4, B5, king to F5, B6, king to E6, B7, king to D7, and our queen. So let me show you that line. And white queens and wins the game. Now, the problem with that line is after B4, king captures here, c4, he doesn't have to take this pawn. That's what we both miss. He doesn't have to take this pawn. He can just step over here. And if I take here, he come here and he's in the square. He captures the pawn and he wins the game. So that's what we both missed. So the first line would have been better. Here, if I would have just went a5 and went with my first line of reasoning, my first line of thought, pushing a5, then it would have been better and I would have had a technical win. However, I thought there wasn't any big difference between the two lines. I thought both lines was winning, and I missed that move that he didn't have to capture with b capture c4, king f5, and he just gets there in time. So he went king captures h4 here. I incorrectly took on b5 because I thought both lines was winning for me. He takes back. I go b4. And here, he flagged. He had like 3 minutes left on the clock and he forgot to hit his clock and he flagged. So I got the win. Thank you for watching this. This is a lesson in endgame technique on how calculating in the endgame, you have to look at multiple variations and seeing different lines of reasoning. And I made an error here, and I thought I had the correct line of reasoning was my first instinct. And I went against it because I thought the second line was just as good as the first, and it wasn't. The first was completely winning, no way around it. All right, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, it's absolutely free. And I'm going to keep bringing these videos on chess. And we're going to all rise together. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.